Okay, so today we've had a lot of calls coming in this week, and many of you have asked to show borders and corners. So guess what? We're here to show you the borders and corners. We have a small wall hanging here. It's got an upper border and two side borders. They're kind of log cabin pieced is what the best way to describe it. It's not a mitered corner. So there are a couple different ways to do corners and borders. The first thing is you need to measure your quilt, and you need to have supplies to do that. So I have a centering tape, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to measure my border piece here that I'm going to set the border in, and our corners are going to be in each side, and it's 20.5 inches. So I've got the border that I've chosen here, and it's a Golden Threads design, and the design I've selected is 24 inches and 4.3 high. So I need to scale the design proportionally, yes, and I'll show you how to line it up to make the design go all the way to the end and keep our height and everything consistent. So what we're going to do is we're going to now take the center of the tape measure. You have this centering section. Here's how you use this. You line up the center tape so that it's even at both ends. So I have 2.5 here, and I have 2.5 down here. The center I'm going to mark. So I'm marking the center of this design. That's the first thing I'm going to do. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 4.3 inches and I'm going to measure it across here. My center mark's going to keep me centered, keep my center in the border. So I've got a 5-inch border, and I need 4 3/4. So I'm going to, or 4.3, excuse me. So I'm going to take off, and you have to do a little calculation, but I want to have it 4 and just a little more than 1/4. So it's going to be 2 and about 3/8 or around there. I can measure just to double check where I'm at. Check my corner. Now I'm going to put a pin at the top. You can use chalk to do this. The pins are just going to be easier for you to see on the video. Okay, so I've got where my measurements are going to be. That's really where I'm going to line up the needle of the machine for your right and your left. We're going to do the same thing at the other end. So I'm now going to take 2 more pins. I now know where I need to land. I know what the measurement was there, so I'm going to put a pin here. That's where the needle is going to land in the fabric, and I'm going to put a pin here to show me where the needle is going to land in the fabric when I'm positioning. So I've selected the design on QBOT on the SD card, and I'm going to go to Start, and I have 2 or 4 point scaling. We're going to go to the 4-point scaling just in case I'm not quite square on the frame. And the first thing it says, place on right upper. The needle, we want the needle to be right where that seam line is going to be. The reason why is I've got 4.3 as my height, and we're going to land the needle at 4.3 in height where those needles are, or pins are, to make the design the full scale length. Height, we're going to change. Okay, so I'm going to go press for right upper, go. And if you need to, you can land your needle in the needle down position. Just be careful not to hit those pins when you do that. Okay, left upper, press go. Left lower, press go. Keep proportional. This is the big question. We're going to say yes. We don't need to rotate, so we're going to bypass that by just saying go. Move our designs out of the way. Now QBOT says trace boundary, no or yes. And it says that it's made the design at 83%. That's really important for you to remember so that your corners are going to match up with your border. So you might want to scratch that down on a Post-it note. We're going to trace the boundary, so we're going to say yes. I'm going to move the pins out of the way so that when it traces the boundary, the foot of the machine doesn't hit them. So we're going to press go. It moved up to the height adjustment that the border is going to do, and it's centered it in the border by where we picked our marks. So it's tracing the outer boundary, lower perimeter. I'll get this piece here too. So if you look, it's tracing the lower part, now it's going up the side. It went exactly on that line where we needed to go. As long as it goes on this seam line when it comes down this way, we're exactly where we want to be. And it's going to make a turn here. And it's on that line. Once it's done, the QBOT's going to come up with a message for you. It's going to say continue, exit, or repeat. It's continue in the trace boundary, exit to go out, or repeat. We don't need to repeat. Let's push continue and see what it says. So now it says go to move to start. So press go to move to start. And I can tell that it's going to land exactly where we need it to. Now I suggest don't cut these threads, but you do want to pull your bobbin thread up to the top. So we've pulled our bobbin thread up to the top. So we're at fine tune. At this point we can begin stitching with QBOT, and it's going to stitch the design for us and go all the way across, and then we can add our left hand border and our right hand border. So while it's stitching, I'm going to let it stitch a little bit. I'm going to get the templates, and what we'll do is we'll go over what designs we're going to use for the corners. I've printed the designs out on white paper. You may choose to print them out on the template plastic. It's a clear plastic so that you can see through to line up. But because we've changed the proportion, yes, on QBOT, the template won't actually line up with what we're doing. Now you could take a plastic template, lay it down here and draw out your design with a template pencil and then reposition when you go to do the other side. So there are some options you have there. The corner I've chosen is the same as the block, and what we're going to do is we're going to put this design in the right hand corner, which is number 64, and we're going to put 65 in the left hand corner, and we're actually going to rotate them both 45 degrees. Now what'll be fun here is that we can rotate one 45 degrees clockwise, and we'll rotate the other 45 degrees counterclockwise, and they'll sit and position for us. Our starts are going to start exactly where this one started, and the start on this side is going to start where the other one ends. Now depending on the design you're doing also, just a couple tips. Remember, the VL is your speed. If you have a large design, you could speed it up at this time if you wanted to by pushing the up arrow, or if you want to slow it down because of the design you're doing, just use the down arrow. 2 more hearts and we'll be done with this design and ready to do our corners. This heart design is actually one of my favorite. I really enjoy doing this. Now we're getting close to the end. Remember, we didn't clip these threads, and we're not going to clip the end threads because we really want to know exactly where this started and where it ended so that we can line these up according to that position. Perfect. We'll let QBOT finish locking the stitch. We're going to exit out. I'm going to slide the machine away, hold on to the upper thread. Then I'm going to do a needle up right in the same hole where we ended, and I'm going to pull that bobbin thread up.